Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday morning. This is Scotty Roberts. If you don't know that already, I think you're only here because you know who I am. And you come in and join the show. And it is Sunday morning. It is not a formal Intrepid radio program. Those are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And Sunday, we just kind of let our hair down. We talk about stuff. Everybody can call in who wants to call in. And it's kind of just a thing to do for Sunday morning. If you're not doing anything else, grab a coffee and come on in, or make this your Sunday morning destination. Wow, that sounded so canned, didn't it? That's my canned intro for the morning. So good morning. I hope everybody had a great week and that you're having a good weekend so far. It's only half over. You got today left. And it's supposed to be a gorgeous day up here. Roger Rabbit, good to see you. He just popped into the chat room. Good to see you. Haven't seen you for a little bit, brother. I hope everything's going well. I hope Carly's well, and Kinsey. And Susie Q, good to see you. And hello, all you awesome people, she says. Favor to you. And Spirit Hearts, Gods and Goddesses, Cordia is here. Good to see you, Cordia. And Morgan Snow is here this morning. And who else is showing their face that I may have missed? JP is here. Going well. He was framed. Very nice. And Elizabeth Richardson, good morning to you. I haven't seen you for a while. Popping in today. Good to see you. For those of you, just a reminder, Sunday mornings is very informal. It has nothing to do, not much to do with the Intrepid radio program, which goes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday every week. Maybe one of these days we'll go back to 5 days. We'll just see how that goes. And my lighting is weird today. It's making me look really yellow. I was doing that the other night. I think it's just the overt need for a new webcam. So this computer that I use is about, it looks like this grand, glorious new computer. It's an Apple, and it's one of those, it's on its own little stand, and it sweeps up, and it's all the curved lines, and it's big, it's 27-inch. So it's a nice computer, but it's still I think it's a 2017, if I'm not mistaken, which makes this thing, let's see, about this Mac. Let's just see if it tells me. Yeah, it's 2017. And it's the Retina Mac, and it's all souped up and all that for my graphics. But 2017, you think about that, this thing's almost 7 years old. By May, it'll be 17 years old, or 7 years old. That's almost a boat anchor in computer terms. So we'll see. One of these days soon, we're going to have to upgrade this baby. So what's going on? Anybody watch the State of the Onion? That was what day was that? Was that on Thursday or Wednesday? Can't remember. And I did not watch it live. I already knew what he was going to say. I already, and I was right. One thing I will give the Biden team for the State of the Union, they had him so souped up on whatever pharmaceuticals are needed to make him buzzing like that, which you saw toward the end started to wear down a bit. But and I think his own adrenaline, he probably has his own adrenaline. He's a person just like the rest of us. And he was probably pumped to give his message, which I don't think is really even his message anymore. But man, he was going. One thing you'll give him is that what they needed to accomplish with the State of the Union was to show that Joe Biden was capable, that he could stand the test, and that he could make it and be viable to run. Now, mind you, that's not going to be for thinking people, critically thinking people. That's going to be for the people who don't really think and don't really vote, and probably his own base a little bit, to show that, oh, yeah, he can do what he's doing. Yeah, he trips. Yeah, he has verbal foibles. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. He forgets things, but he is a viable candidate. And that's what their purpose was. And I think they accomplished that to a certain extent, but that's only appealing to those who care about whether or not Joe Biden was viable. So, yeah, there, see, look, he made it through a whole hour, 67 minutes. So, anyway, that's what they tried to accomplish. Yeah, JP's favorite quote from the State of the Union was when he said, yeah, we all know. Uh, so, doesn't cake only last like 10 to 20 minutes? Maybe he did a huge line before he went on. That's why it wore off so rapidly. That's what Roger Rabbit just said. You know, you might be right, Roger Rabbit. Why did people take Coke? Why did that become so fashionable in the 80s, in the 90s? It's because well, you saw Robin Williams sometimes did a couple of lines before his shows in his early days. And that's why he was always buzzing like that. It got you going. So, sorry, I just clicked off my window there. So, there you go. Was Joe Biden buzzing? Did he say anything that you found to be worthy of taking away from that speech? Oh, well, yeah. Don't forget, he gets the good. Yeah, he gets the good stuff too, says Morgan Snow. Work hard, play hard. I think that was the theme then. Yeah, that was pretty much it. So, I don't have lots and lots of critiquing to do for the State of the Union because I did not watch it, nor did I study it. That maybe that should be my job, but I'm not just a political commentator. So that's not super my job, but it's out there. I didn't find that anything he had to say was anything that we could take away and go, yeah, that makes our country better. What my overall take, I did watch it, had it playing in the background with some critiques going on at the same time. I had like Steven Crowder, Louder with Crowder, if you've ever watched his show or heard him. They had their crew critiquing it live as it was going. He had a drinking game going as well as, like many people did, as well as live fact checking. And Donald Trump did his fact checking. Let's see. I'm going to put here. I'm going to put in here. I want to see if we have any points we want to go through here. Takeaways. There it is. Takeaways from Joe Biden's State of the Union address. I should find. Let's see. Remarks of President Joe Biden from 2 days ago from the White House.gov. Key takeaways, AP News. Let's see. I'm looking to see who all they've got here listed. If you Google it to find out what Joe Biden said, the White House, AP News, WSJ. I don't know what WSJ. Oh, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, the New York Times, ABC, CNN, CBS, NPR, Bloomberg, CNBC, the Washington Post, and USA Today. Then it starts going down smaller. Yahoo, Politico. I don't see anything like the Epoch Times or Fox News or any of those. That's interesting. BBC is in here. The BBC said Biden faces high stakes address to calm Democratic nerves. So the State of the Union, all around the world, even the BBC, British Broadcasting, they saw Joe Biden's speech, the State of the Union, as something that the Democrats were hoping would calm them down, get them off the ledge about their president. And The Hill has five takeaways from the State of the Union address. So does NPR. Axios, they have five takeaways as well. And, they said the one true sign of somebody who is in dementia is they're always angry. They get more lucid the more angry they are able to conduct themselves. And yeah, he couldn't pronounce the girl's name, says Carlene. I gave him that one because I've done that a million times. I'll mispronounce somebody's name. So I'll give him that. But as somebody said, he probably didn't even know who she was until that moment, till the moment before the speech. Somebody handed him the pin. So, pardon me. Cheers, everyone. Coffee. I poured this like 20 minutes ago, and that's the first sip I took. So, yeah, and the illegal thing. One thing I did notice was he spent more time post State of the Union address apologizing for using the word illegal for the guy who murdered Laken Riley than he did apologizing for mispronouncing her name, which he never did. Never did apologize for that. And, maybe the way he sees himself, he didn't mispronounce it, misstated, but he didn't correct it. Or did he during the speech? I don't recall. But that one, I know, Carlene, and I'm with you on that one. I don't hang a lot of my hats on that nail coming out of the speech. Anybody can mispronounce a name. I did hear Donald Trump. I was doing the dishes yesterday, which is my kid's chore. But since it doesn't get done, and we impose I tell Rainey, don't wash that dish. That is the kid's job. They're not doing their task on time. And so imposing penalties is the mean rocky road in this house. But finally yesterday, I got fed up with 2 to 3 days of dishes piling up, opening up the cupboard, having no coffee cups, none, having no forks or spoons, having no plates, and no glasses, to get a drink of water. I said, that's it. Everybody's out doing their thing. I'm going to do these dishes. And so I did the whole kitchen. And, when I do the kitchen, we had to do it every day. I'm on a big rabbit trail here right now, of course, but we had to do it every day when I was a kid. And if you didn't do it, what happened? You got grounded, you lost privilege. No, you can't go to that thing. No, I'm not going to pay for that for you because you didn't do your thing. That's a privilege you get for doing your chore. We didn't get allowances. Some of our friends got allowances. God, and I'm thinking about that 50 years ago. Some of my friends got $5 a week allowance. And we were like, whoa, that's a lot of money. There was a girl in school that she and her brother got $5 a week. And back then, that was like, whoa, a fortune when you were in grade school, middle school. And now I look at that and I go, well, if I give my kids $5 a week, that I thought that would be a nice little shot in the arm for everybody. But, we fork out more dough for these kids. Anyway, I did the dishes. While I was doing the dishes, I was playing the news, and I was watching it on YouTube, something I had missed earlier in the day. And when that news expired, it popped into one of Donald Trump's rallies from I think it was the South, no, not the South Carolina one, the one before that. It was a Georgia rally, and it was really good, and it was about a week ago or something like that. And so just before Super Tuesday, which was last week, and so listening to him was so much different than listening to Joe Biden. Now, there was one big mistake, and I mentioned this on the show on Friday night when we were just chatting about current events. There was one big mistake that the shooting themselves in the foot GOP always tends to do, which is make some big foible. They don't have this campaigning thing down the way the Democrats do. I think to campaign properly, you've probably got to use a lot of subterfuge, half truths, and that's just what it seems to get that stuff right. Well, the one big thing they missed, an opportunity they should have, they had was it Katie Britt? Britt was her last name. The woman who did the Republican response to the State of the Union, which is mandatory that everybody's got to carry the other party's response. And hey, Steph, I just saw. Hi, Scotty. Good to see you, Steph, and everybody else who's been coming in. And so they had Katie Britt, and she was so good, but she was so practiced. So it seemed very canned and very produced. And the GOP was attempting, of course, to get that slice of the country that you'd think wouldn't be so up for grabs. But the young stay-at-home moms with kids at home, maybe have a job and parent at the same time, that slice of America, because she did it from her kitchen. She is a stay-at-home mom. She's young. She's pretty. She's articulate. She's a new senator. All of those things. So they had her on, and she was okay as a standalone, but it was very practiced, and it was too emotive. But the emotion didn't seem to come from passion. It came from um, I don't know. It seemed canned to me a little bit. And that was my first impression. And okay, she's good, but she seems a little canned. You know what the opportunity that the GOP missed was? Having the presumptive uh, GOP candidate, because, they haven't elected him through the convention yet, Donald Trump give the response. Hey, Roy, how you doing? Burton and Stanley Booksellers. That's Roy Palvido. And so what the GOP missed was this. Yes, they probably had Katie Britt lined up for a long time to do the response. But when you saw the delegates that Trump was getting, he still is. He is the candidate. He's just not elected in, hasn't been made official yet. But when you had Joe Biden giving what was basically not a State of the Union, but a campaign speech, he said predecessor. What was it? 18 times he mentions Donald Trump, but not by name. You've got he's making a campaign speech. And so the ideal situation would have been to have the presumptive Republican nominee. And I say presumptive only because it hasn't been made official yet at the convention, which is this summer. They should have had him doing, because it would have been, Biden's making his campaign speech out of the State of the Union address. And so Biden should have been countered by Donald Trump. I think that's the only big problem, that misstep that the Republicans made. Not a big one, because you know what? People forget State of the Union addresses in a heartbeat. It's like, what did he say again? Who cares? Because they don't last as far as for campaigning, stumping. But I wanted to see here, what were the 5 takeaways that all the big news outlets are saying that that we should have. From NPR, National Public Radio. President Biden delivered a State of the Union address on Tuesday night. Oh, wait, was that wasn't this year? That's last year's. What the hell? That's not the new one. Let's see. 2 days ago. Let's look at Axios. All right. 5 takeaways from Biden's big night. And it says this: why it matters, with anger, humor, and frequent ad libs that baited his Republican critics, Biden, 81, tried to show voters he's capable of serving another 4-year term at a time when the polls show voters don't think he is. Now, that's a whole thing, by the way. The thing about Biden's age, I have never, ever had an issue with his age. And everybody that keeps saying, well, he's too old, it's not about his age, folks. It's about his mental capacity. It's about his mental capacity to do a very tasking job. And how many of you want to see the President of the United States sitting on a beach without a shirt 5 days in a row, which Biden did earlier this year? They say he's been on more vacation time than any president before him. He's been on vacation more than he's been in office. So, well, they say, the president's always on call. He's got his whole office set up in his vacation home and et cetera. Yeah, I get it. I do that too. When I go on vacation, it's like, I'll be on call. You can reach me here. But not really. Oh, we were out, at the food market. Sorry, we missed the call about Russia. No, I'm sure it's a little more sophisticated than that. So, so the 5 key takeaways, according to Axios, they said, Biden said it's hard for anyone at my age to give that performance. That was a former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, said. Nobody's going to talk about cognitive impairment now, said Jerry Nadler, telling Biden after the speech. So, yeah, you still do. I still will talk about cognitive impairment. I'm going to talk about what drugs they had him on to get him through the speech. So 5 takeaways from Biden's big night out. Number 1, he came ready to fight. Okay, did you all take that? Now, this is not my opinion. This is generally what you're seeing out there. He came ready to fight is number 1. He'd been spoiling for the chance to punch back against Republican criticisms about his age and his policies. And his speech became a raucous affair as he repeatedly looked to engage with the GOP. And he was ready for hecklers, and he was eager to defang them. He both mocked his Republican critics and offered to meet them in the middle on some issues, particularly immigration. I don't think we should meet Joe Biden in the middle on immigration. Here's my opinion now. Joe Biden has failed this country on immigration, and he's failed all of us. And the only reason, and by the way, you're all welcome to state your opinions here too. You can call in. If you don't know what the invite link is to get into the radio show, I'll just post it right here. If you're over on Facebook, you might, you'll see it in Facebook because I'm also on the Facebook channel. So, where the hell was I? I'm pulling a Joe Biden. My brain's not fully awake yet today. So my take on the whole thing about his age, about wanting to meet people in the middle on immigration. I don't care to meet Joe Biden in the middle on immigration because he has failed us on immigration his whole term. We have something like, what do they say? More than the population of the state of Rhode Island. This more than the population of 30 states individually in our country have come in illegally under Joe Biden and are lost into this country. They've come through the gates. And we have that many people in here. And his meet him in the middle, he's asking for the moon right now. I wouldn't meet him in the middle on almost anything he's got. I'd say, no, That you got to eradicate that. You can't do that. He's trying to leave it to how many? 5,000, no more than 5,000 a day coming through the gates. That's do your days. What's 365 times 5,000? That gives you an idea at the end of the year. Yeah, what border, Cordia? Exactly. We need to close the border. And did you know, and people aren't aware of this, but the Republicans I know on their side have been trying to really make this known, and conservatives, is that Joe Biden has always possessed the power to close the border. And we're not saying close the border just to close the border permanently. We're saying close the border so we can figure out the new way to run the border. If Biden wants to present something, close the border. It's been leaking for far too long. Do you know they said that it's not just Mexicans and people south of the border that are getting in? Do you know that there are over 320,000 Chinese that have come through the southern border and are somewhere in this country? And they said the vast majority of them were young men that were, you could call it military age, coming through. Now, is it because they all want freedom? Or is there something more insidious behind that? I don't know all the facts behind that. But how do you vet those people? That is something we have to look at. Yeah, they have their own camp. That's right. So every time he talks with families of those killed, he makes it about his family, says Randall Flagg. Exactly. There is that. Yeah, I've lost children too. It's like, we know this, Joe. But he makes it about himself. He's never lost a child the way he's never lost his child to an illegal immigrant who murdered her brutally in a park. So give me some more money so I can streamline the incoming newcomers. That's pretty much it. That's what his plan is all about. So there's a lot of things in his plan that you say, no. Put on the brakes. You have the power to issue an executive order to close the border. He issued, what did I hear it was? It was, I'm mixing up my numbers, but he issued, what pops in my head is 97 different executive orders that had to do with the border in his first month in office. Now, I might have that wrong because it might be 67 that closed the border. If somebody wants to fact check that on me, please do. Let's say there were dozens to several under 100, more than 50. He issued executive orders his first couple of weeks in office that undid everything Trump had done at the border. Because what was the goal? If you remember all his executive orders from that first month, they were attempting to erase everything Donald Trump. And that was his goal. It was not what's good for the country. It's what's good to erase Donald Trump. So that's what they worked on. Now, that same president, Biden, could, with a stroke of a pen, issue an executive order and in 5 minutes have that border closed, locked down, solid. Nobody is coming in. Not our problem. This is a nation, folks. This is not a soup kitchen. You cannot enter our border for any reason without X, Y, or Z in place. So the president could have shut down. Now he's been toying with, and he made it public. Well, I just might issue an executive order to close the border before the State of the Union address. That was a few weeks out. He didn't do it, but he could have. But it was a political move. He was going to try to say, so he could say during his State of the Union, I closed down the border until we can figure this mess out. Well, he didn't do that. Why didn't he do that? Because he found it was no longer politically efficacious. It wasn't going to do him any good because the GOP and the conservatives on the other side, did a good job of getting the information out that if Joe Biden just closes the border now, why'd he wait 3 years to do that when there's millions upon millions of people seeping in through that border? Why'd he wait till now for a political move? Not because it was good for the country. It was 94, says Steph, 94 executive orders that countermanded anything Trump had done at the border. So there you go. That's we're still going through these 5 key takeaways by a more leftist side of the news media. Axios. Okay, he came ready to fight. He was ready for hecklers. They said, I did see a couple of spots where he responded to a heckler, which surprised me, which is a lucid thing to do. If you're impaired, at least momentarily impaired or overall impaired, you don't usually have the mental capacity to respond to that other than anger. And he did a pretty good job responding to a couple of hecklers. So I'll give him some points for that. So without uttering his name, Biden repeatedly attacked presumptive GOP presidential nominee, not Donald Trump, on everything from Ukraine to immigration, abortion, and democracy. And of course, those are the talking points for the left. And did you notice, I think one of the big criticisms from people who pay attention was that Biden he opened up his whole State of the United States, the State of the Union address, talking about Ukraine. And then he moved on to, what was the second point he was making? He went from Ukraine to, he didn't talk about the border till long into his speech. Yeah, the SCOTUS. He talked about you attacked the SCOTUS, and the Supreme Court of the United States, and so the things he did in his opening, that wasn't about our country at all, the state of our country. He was talking about defending the borders of Ukraine more than he talked about defending our borders. He referred to Trump as his predecessor more than a dozen times. It was 18 times. And along with former president and some other people, he referred to him as. So Biden, it's like, who told him that? Was it, hey, every time you want to say Trump, say predecessor? I'm sure that came up on the teleprompter. Whose clever move was that? Because we all know who he's talking about. Oh, we cannot give his, what are we, ancient Egyptians here? Give life to the name, utter the name to give them life. So, yeah. So he did that. He drew attention to Trump's age, 77, by saying some other people my age have a darker view of America. So, I'm going to tell you what, my 84-year-old dad could talk circles around Joe Biden at 81. So, again, it's not about age. And the left was trying to emphasize the age. Oh, well, he's 81, but, Trump's 77 right behind him. Not about age. It's about mental capacity, folks. So when you hear people talking about, well, Joe Biden's too old, he's not really too old. He's not too old. If he's got all the mind power and the steam to do it, then do it. Here we got JW's out there. Well, we've got his wardrobe. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
So that's something that ticks me off. Even good commentators that I like to listen to. Well, so what do you think about Joe Biden's age and so on? And they talk about age. I don't care about his age. I care about his ability to do the job. He who shall not be named, says Curtis Relia, if I'm saying that right, Curtis. So good to see you, by the way, Curtis. Glad to have you here.
Cognitive.
He's always yelling, Steph. He's always yelling and yelling. I feel like I'm back in grade school getting yelled at. So, what was that, JP?
Well, the cognitive point is, excuse me, is absolutely, probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
There are concerns with age. I would argue, generally speaking,
Generally speaking,
because what kind of turmoil, upheaval, etc., friction does it cause if there's a major issue that happens because of age, and now you have to bring in the vice president, or go on down the line, however far you have to go,
right.
and things like that. But that's you kind of made the tongue-in-cheek comment or joke about, what are we, ancient Egyptians, and we're speaking life to the name. But
Right.
in terms of psychology and in terms of influence, that's exactly what it is. And
except, let me stop you right there. Except, it's like listening to a couple of commentators talk about or do an interview about the use of the N-word. And I'm like, oh, what's the N-word? Ninny?
Right.
Poop? No, we all know what the word is.
Yeah, we all know who you're talking about.
We all know. So,
but at the same time, the more you say something, the more you repeat something, the more credence it's given, whether rightfully or wrongfully so.
Sure. That's like the use of the term of the number for Trump, 45. People, we're not going to speak his name, and we'll just call him 45.
Well, but you look at elsewhere that it's done, though. How many things out there do we see on a daily, weekly, monthly, whatever basis, floating around in social media, in print media, TV media, etc., where if you repeat a narrative enough, it truth. And it's akin to that same psychological response. Now, the other thing too is the more they say Trump, the more people who are pro-Trump are going to sit there and probably key in on it, because they're saying their boy's name, and so they
keep talking. I'm just going to go turn on my light. I'm sick of my bad lighting today. I'm going to turn on the overhead and fry my
So it's things like that are very real, and that's why it's important in general to dig and do research and do objective research. Not just take the quick and easy clickbait tagline, and things like that. It's and if anybody wanted to know and didn't do the math, I did the rough math when he was talking about the no more than 5,000 people a day. That works out to like 1.25 million people every year.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge reduction.
Except, how many millions did we have come in over this last 2 years?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Per annum, as they say. There we go. That's somewhat better.
Way more than the million. $1.25 per year, but it still adds up, and it still creates issues. I think probably one of the bigger issues on that whole border issue is not so much in general that people are coming here. I mean, there's the legal ramifications, and you want to do things correct and all that. Well, just take that and set that over here. It isn't so much that there's a whole bunch of people coming in, as much as it is who is coming in with them. That's what I have concerns about. Anybody who wants to make a better life for themselves, wants to assimilate into the culture of the United States, and that's something they've wanted to do for a long time. They want to build a better life for their family. All of those good things, right? That's great. And I have the only problem I have with those people is it's like, look, there's a method, and you didn't do the method. All right, that's my only view. But when you see the military-aged, males coming from China, and then you have that. There have also been people that have been on like the terror watch list.
Yes.
Basically, for anybody who wants to think about it, remember we went to Iraq and Afghanistan. We had the decks of cards.
Yep.
That had all of the key players that we were looking for to either capture or kill or whatever to take out the various organizations. It's maybe they didn't make all of the face cards of the deck, but they were still very dangerous people, that have made it through. I know. I remember watching that one channel I told you about, Speak the Truth, where the guy does a lot of talking about the military stuff. He had a thing on where he was talking about that, and they're like, "Hey, somebody just said that this guy came through the border, and they pulled up a picture, and he was like, dude, that is so and so. I am telling you right here and now, like I have seen this guy." This is so and so. I am almost positive of it, and it's like, and then he just melts off, and it's like, cool. Now you have. Let's not even throw the Islamic portion of it. You have a militant extremist.
Yes.
Who's just filtered through, and that's
it. Well, who was the guy they had in the news a little over a month ago? Somebody at the southern border, and they were questioning him. And he is speaking in his, his Arabic accent.
Yeah.
And talking about...
You'll know who I am.
You'll know who I am.
You'll find out who I am. Yeah, that guy. It was that guy.
And he's released into the country.
Yeah. And it's like... People want to, bang tambourines and strum on the guitar and sing Kumbaya in a circle. And look, don't get me wrong, hippies.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be able to sit there and sing Kumbaya and get along and love one another and things like that. Even the most, pro doing something aggressive people out there want, at the root of it, they want peace.
Yes.
It's just like you gotta realize that mankind as a species has not evolved to that point, and your love circles with your tambourines are not going to make us evolve as a species to the point where we choose, finding ways to have a peaceful, United Federation of Planets, Starfleet existence.
Money is no longer. I remember Captain Picard. Money is no longer an issue for us. We strive for knowledge.
Right. We're not there yet. We're not logistically or resource centric capable of doing that. And that's what people don't understand. And it's not going to bring around that any sooner.
Right.
Let's see. We've basically already had the equivalent of the Bell riots, right?
Yes.
So now we got to go into World War III. So look, Star Trek fans, we're ticking off the checklist. There's a couple of variances, right? But we've had the Bell riots. We need to walk into World War III, and then once we do that, Zefram Cochrane is going to start the warp drive. And
and what was the big the eugenics war?
The eugenics wars, yes, yeah. So we need to have Khan Noonien soon.
So, who is our Khan?
It's people need to. People need to accept reality for what it is.
I think you're right.
They don't have to like it.
Yeah.
No one has to like it.
When you're talking voting and getting people to vote and a political candidate's agenda, they're not worried about any of that stuff. They're trying to... Who is Biden trying to get? The left needs to have voters who don't think through the issues. They need to have voters that are there to vote. Well, I vote Democrat and I believe in Democrat and I believe what they say about Trump, and they need those people.
Well, and that's the big problem, I think, with everybody. is
To a
that
certain extent.
they do too much party line voting.
And I
Rather
think what the
than common
GOP
sense
tries
voting.
to do, which maybe they should take that cue from the left, is the right needs to maybe do a little bit more of that, because the right is trying to capitalize on, well, think about this. It's not working. Be critical thinkers. Nobody wants to be a critical thinker.
Right.
They're like, the way people vote is the way people go to church on Easter and Christmas. Oh, we're Christian. We show up at church on Easter Sunday and can't wait to get out of there because we've got a dinner to go to. And we go to church on Christmas Day or Christmas time. And that's it for their Christianity. Well, what makes you a Christian? Well, I'll go to church on Easter and Christmas. That doesn't make anybody anything. It makes you a twice-a-year churchgoer. You go to church for 2 to 3 hours a year. And does that mean you're a follower of that faith? No. So same thing with voting. Well, I vote for my party. Well, talk to anybody. Start breaking down the issues just below the surface. Most people couldn't discuss anything.
And I tell you what, I've probably said this a million times to a million different people. Exaggeration, obviously. But look at people ought to take a look at the interview with Yuri Brezhnev, I believe it is. It was like 1980 or 1982. He was a KGB guy that defected from the USSR to Canada.
Yes.
And they interviewed him, and you look at everything. Well, you listen to everything that he's saying, and then you look at the world around you, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got it. I get it.
Susie, it's JP, but Wendy changed the P in my name at one point for coming on her show, and I just haven't changed it back.
Yeah, there you go.
The last time I changed it back, I got scolded from across the pond.
When Wendy changes your name, you don't change it back. So Wendy has a show today, by the way.
Yep.
It is Wicked Women. It's at 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern, and 10 p.m. London time. Here's Ellery. Good morning. Come here. Have a seat. Sounds creepy, but come and sit on Daddy's lap. So get over here. Say hi to JP. That's Jason.
Hi.
Hey, kiddo. How's it going?
Means.
What was that?
What the W means in his name.
What's the W?
According to Wendy, it means wicked.
There you go.
I am not wicked.
He is not wicked. He's a good man.
Just badly
look like a pretty man to you. Short. Look at that. Oh wow, his hair's all combed. Show her your military cap. Your World War II.
My.
Go grab that.
My Bancroft lighter.
I'm gonna get one of these.
Hang on.
Wait. You gotta see.
We've got to take a field trip.
Oh, you're gonna pull up the chair. Oh, careful with that. Boren.
Speaking of tambourine. No.
Speaking of tambourines, not quite a tambourine. I don't play it, but there. Look at that. It says World War I or World War II military hat. Pretty cool, huh?
You're that old.
You're that old.
No.
Well, I think I'll just put this right back. He says.
Just hang that back on the rack.
Yeah, exactly.
No, kiddo. I am not that old.
He is not quite that old.
No, I study it. I study military history and things like that.
Yeah. There you go. You impressed?
Don't be.
Yeah, really. How many parents never said to their kids, "Hey, make sure you marry an historian"?
Right. Yeah.
So,
Doctor, lawyer, something like that.
historian. Historians
Right.
write out.
Shall not proceed to matrimony.
Yes, yes. Marriage is. What are you writing? Don't write stupid messages on my hand.
I hope that's what she's writing because that'd be absolutely hilarious.
Oh,
JJ's hot.
Oh, good God.
JJ's hot. He's JW though.
No, from Outer Banks.
Oh, from
Oh.
Outer Banks.
From Outer Banks? Is that like a TV show?
It's a TV show. It's one of those. It's like the new 90210.
Oh.
90210. Was that the show? 90210?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason
It's like that,
Priestley
except
and
it
all
takes
those guys.
place with supposedly with the 25 to 30-year-old actors playing high school kids. In
JJ's only 25. I can marry him.
you could marry him?
Yeah.
He couldn't marry you though. He'd have to be
I'll pretend like I'm 20.
he'd have to be Islamic.
I'll be 20.
Oh,
The
God.
founder of Islam. Sorry, I
Oh,
couldn't say
God.
the name. I don't want a fatwa against me.
Oh, God.
So, yeah. Well, she's 9, so there you go. Let's see. Good show, says Randall Flagg. Thank you, Randall Flagg. That means a lot to me. Speaking of JP, the new Judas Priest is out, and it sounds awesome. Oh, I'll have
Is he
to hear
busy
that
breaking the law? Breaking the law? Breaking the law?
You gotta sing JJ's hot.
one. I've got
gotta-
to
Yeah, you
sing.
gotta sing it.
Sing. I don't know his song.
No, you got to sing that JJ's hot.
JJ's hot. JJ's hot. You sing it. So.
I can't. I have a cough.
That's right.
Oh, Lord.
My daughter's Morgan Snow says my daughter's fiance is a Star Wars nerd. We have lively discussions. I'll bet you do. What would Jabba do? WWJD. What would Jabba do?
You know, with everybody complaining on both sides about all the candidates with stuff, I have the solution.
What's your solution?
And with that solution, I have a question that comes with it.
Axe it.
And that is, why vote for the lesser of two evils?
Right.
Why not vote for the greater of two evils?
Why not?
Cthulhu 2024.
Cthulhu 2024. There it is. Vote for the greater of three evils.
Right.
Love bites, says Curtis.
I know.
What are you doing?
I gotta write all the Outer Banks characters on your arm.
Don't write all the Outer Banks characters on my arm.
Pope Hayward.
I let her draw on my arm. She tattoos me. So
There you go.
let's
Quit moving.
quit moving. My show. I can move all I want.
No.
Let's see. Another takeaway, says Axios and NPR and all those from the Biden State of the Union.
You JJ me bink.
Spreading the blame on immigration. Biden sought to shift some of the blame for the crisis. Well, all of it, if you listen to Kareem Jean-Pierre, trying to shift the blame for the border crisis to the GOP.
John B. Rutledge.
Now, the way he's able to do that is by saying, well, the GOP have resisted all my attempts to do anything at the border. Well, no, they resist his ridiculous legislation. We can't vote for that.
Yeah.
And so he calls that, there's politicking, pure and clean for you folks. That is not them resisting doing anything at the border. They're resisting doing some of the lame, idiotic things that Biden is proposing. So after embracing restrictive immigration policies, including some he campaigned against in 2020, in a failed bipartisan Senate deal, Biden tried to portray Republicans as responsible for ongoing problems. Well, who's responsible for putting up legislation that includes things that have nothing to do with the border, that have that would worsen the situation in the border, that does not fix the border problem? So if you resist that, you are suddenly part of the blame for why the border is is having a problem, you know what the president can do, JP? He can step up and he can close the border and say, until we get it all figured out, let's close the border.
You know, that
Boom.
that in of itself is a great idea. I and I don't necessarily disagree with it. I do think that doing that carries a lot of risks in and of itself, not necessarily to us in a literal sense, probably more in an optic sense. But
yeah,
you know, right now with the sheer volume of people that are sitting at the border, that are arriving at the border and all that, if everything went on lockdown, it is not unrealistic to have the compassionate thought of what happens to these people now. I mean, you can generalize and be like, well, they'll matriculate back down to wherever they came from.
A totally different thing.
Or there you go. Look at that. Look at that.
Kinds of it. Language for messages for the ages on my arm. So
and you can't.
Yes.
You can't not have compassion, but at the same time, you have to make a tough decision.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to make a tough decision.
You do.
It's just kind of it's Looney Tunes, some of the stuff that you see going on, and quite frankly, at the end of the day, I don't blame current seated politicians. I blame the American people.
Yeah, I do too.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, it is on our shoulders. It is our responsibility. We're the ones who vote the way we vote, or don't vote, which then trickles down to the second and third order effects of it. We put the people that get put into office that are making the decisions because we do party line voting. We don't research the issues. We fall prey to all the advertisements by one candidate against another. And quite frankly, I know a way to solve that, but nobody wants to listen to a commercial that long, and which really actually would probably make people stop making commercials that way, where it's, oh, so-and-so voted against giving kids puppies and medicine. He didn't want puppies and medicine or education for these kids.
No puppies and no medicine. Yes.
He voted against this bill. And it's like, well, no, he didn't vote against that. He voted against what other stupid writer was attached to that bill, and in good conscience couldn't sign to have that bill go forward because of that writer. So if you were going to sling mud in an in a campaign advertisement, I think you have to spell it. You should be legally required, under threat of federal pound you in the ass prison time, like hard time, max security, not Club Med. Like, really teach lessons, right?
Yes.
If you are going to mudsling, you have to list everything that was in that particular bill that so-and-so supposedly voted against. Like, I want truth in advertising.
Yep.
Like, I want that. And it's like, you know what? Stop slinging mud at people. Sell yourself. If you have to sling mud at the other person to sell yourself, you probably aren't that great of a product, or you really need to get a new new marketing team.
And by the way, that is why you will see these committees and these things. If you watch any amount of commentary out there, that's why you will see certain members of the right, certain members of the left. Well, mostly you see it more on the right. Well, they will enlist all the things in that bill. We're being told that we're doing something that's wrong by not voting for this bill. Well, do you know what's in it? Here, and here. It's like, we all remember, we can go back to it several years, 15 years ago almost now. Nancy Pelosi with the healthcare bill announcing as Speaker of the House that don't read it, just vote for it. You can read it later.
Right. And what the heck? Like, who gets into a contract effectively without reading the contract. Naive
Exactly.
people do. You know, like
Exactly.
you read all the fine print. You
That's
look
it.
at all of the little, italicized print in the bottom.
Yep.
If you're concerned about something, you take it to a lawyer. Be like, hey,
Yes.
I need you to translate this for me, because
Exactly.
last time I knew, I spoke English, and these guys wrote this in Greek. Can you please help me?
Yes.
But people don't do that.
No, they
You know,
don't.
and which is why you see all of the stuff going on. And like at this point, once you've gotten so far into things, like there's not a whole lot you can do to make up for what's happened. So when you look at like social media things, you look at all of that.
See you, Susie Q.
In the fine print, when you when you sign up for something, we're at where we're at now. We can't do anything about it, but going forward, we can do better. And reading the fine print, understanding the terms of agreement, understanding exactly what you're opening yourself up for. And that's why, like, I tell my friends, like, and family, stay off of TikTok.
Yeah.
Stay off of TikTok.
Don't not necessarily. I'm on TikTok.
I know you are, but
Go to
there's a
my
lot of
page
stuff
on
in
TikTok.
there. Right. There's a lot of stuff in there and on there with algorithms and how things are and how things are worded that, they now have rights to a lot of this stuff, and there's nothing you can really do about it.
Right.
They can access your information whenever, and then, read the fine print.
Yeah.
And if we try to teach people, excuse me, to read the fine print, we try to teach that to our kids, right?
Yes.
Why aren't we doing that
Don't sign
ourselves?
that contract without reading the fine print. Well,
Right.
we accept legislation that way.
We do it for our privates and our junior airmen in the Army. What you got you got that Mustang on a what? A 28% interest rate?
What was
It's
the
only a
reason?
D6.
What's the reason they started being able to add items to bills that have nothing to do with the legislation that's being voted on? There was a reason. It was to streamline things.
Right.
Well, one of the best old lines I ever heard Rush Limbaugh say was, he said, and it wasn't a new thought with him, he just made it more popular to his listeners, was government is meant to grind slow. It's meant to be slow.
That is exactly why it was designed how it was.
The slower the government does anything, the longer you get to hang on to your wallet, he said. And that's very true. It just made me think, is my wallet in my pocket? Yeah, it is. And that's very true.
Yeah.
The wheels of government should grind slowly. You don't want to streamline something. Now, obviously, there's going to be exceptions to that where you have to streamline something. If we're attacked, there should be, and we have to declare war and go into war and prep for it. You got to streamline that. You can't let it drag out for 6 months.
Exactly. But the day-to-day processes, that impact everybody on a daily basis.
Yes,
it is meant to be thorough and take time.
It has to take time, and I believe there should be legislation. I would like to see. I don't know if there can be an executive order for this, but I would love to see legislation that says Congress has to have single item veto.
Right.
Line item
veto. I was just going to say, if we can't roll the clock back on policy to where everything is a single bill that is pushed forward and not with 4,000 writers on it, pork. If we can't do that, give the president single line item veto power. Give.
And why would anybody oppose that?
Right.
Because they want to be able to tack their pork onto an important bill. And then sometimes I think that is used just for the purpose of being able to say, and my opponent wouldn't vote for this bill. That's so important to us. Well, they don't tell us why. Like Biden right now saying the Republicans have stymied my bill. Well, why? Why don't you spell that out for us, Kareem Jean-Pierre, or the White House spokesman? And if somebody asks her, well, on what precisely? There's so many times I watch a news, and and I don't watch them all. I catch snippets, and I watch something, and I go, "Well, reporter, follow up and ask her why." Just the question, well, why?
Who's that one guy that is just absolutely just destroys her?
Oh,
Like-
it's Peter Ducey.
Yeah. Oh my
Why?
God. I love that guy.
I love him. There are whole video YouTube pages dedicated to Peter Ducey's confronting Jean-Pierre.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fantastic. And he gets her riled up, man.
Yeah.
And you know, I got to think one of two things about her. Maybe one of three or four things. But number one, she's stupid. Okay? That's simple, period. Number two, she's being paid an awful lot of money to just be a mouthpiece for the White House.
Yeah.
Not a disseminator of fact, a disseminator of White House, an apologist. She's an apologist.
Well, and that's the scary thing too. When you say not just fact, right?
Yep.
The thing is she could actually go out there and speak facts, but it's the context in which facts are presented that can obfuscate everything else that's going on. And that's a common tactic. Well, by everyone, right? You know, it's I didn't lie. I told you the truth of what was going on. Like, but you didn't.
How many times do you see her defer to? Well, I'm not going to talk about that. You can call the White House attorney's office on that. Like, okay, thank you.
Well, in some ways,
for the White House.
In some ways, that's probably kind of the right answer to give, because I don't. So, you know, the last thing you want to do is start being like, here's the law, you know, when you're not the lawyer, you don't know it. But
by the way, let me just say, appropriate time to say, you too can get your own Son of a Patriot mug at my Etsy page, which would normally be scrolling along the bottom of the page, just like this, but I didn't do it yet this morning. So yes, you too can get your own Son of a Patriot. By the way, a little story behind that. That is supposed to be my ancestor, William Robards, who his father came over, his grandfather came over from Wales in 1710 and settled in Goochland, Virginia.
There's also daughter.
Why don't you go get that cup? Let's show that one off.
You ought to do one of the. Oh God, now I can't think of his name, but he was a 70. He was like this 78-year-old dude, and he was a civilian at this point. And like, there was a battle. The redcoats were retreating back past his farm. He got out there and he started unloading on them with his musket.
Oh my!
And his pistols that he had taken in combat when he was,
probably in the French and Indian War.
Right, it's something else, but like, God, I will find this dude, and I will send you the link. I know I talked about.
I'd like to see that.
The Fat Electrician. There's a whole episode on this guy, and it's amazing. And when you're like, good God, he got shot how many times, and then he lived at that age.
Yeah. By the way, I just want to add, you saw my Son of a Patriot? Well, my wife said, well, I'm not a son of a patriot. So we had to make the daughter of a patriot. So there is, and actually Rainey is the model for that young, vivacious, young, patriotic woman. So daughter of a patriot. You can find both of these mugs over at my website or my Etsy page. So how did I slip that one in there? Oh, was that an advertisement? Son of a Patriot, daughter of a Patriot. By the way, Son of a Patriot, I got to tell you, Jason. Son of a Patriot, you see him there? He's wearing his if I can hold it still, he's wearing his tricorn hat.
Yeah.
He's got kind of sandy brown hair. All the women who started buying the Daughter of a Patriot, the shirts and the mugs a couple of years ago, well, she's brunette. Do you have a redhead? Well, I can make her in a redhead. Oh, you've only got brunette and redheads. Do you have a blonde? Oh, I can make her blonde. The only
Right.
thing I haven't done is gray yet. But so this same exact piece of art, I've just changed the hair colors.
about
So
black?
I've had people buy the shirts and the hoodies and the cups based on what color their hair
What
is.
about black?
Right.
And brunette, yeah, we could do black, but I didn't do a black one. So I didn't do black hair.
What about rainbow
So-
hair? What if someone
What
colors
about
their
rainbow hair? Listen to this.
You
What
know
about
what?
rainbow hair? What if
That's-
somebody colors their hair? Well, they didn't do that 250 years ago.
That would be an interesting marketing point. I wonder how that would work and how well that would sell.
What's that? Doing the multicolored hair?
If you did like crazy colored hair
Oh yeah.
or like streaks in the hair or something.
And this daughter of a patriot, she has magenta streaks in her hair along with blue.
Right.
So, by the way, speaking of blue hair, it just instantly jogs. And by the way, I would love nothing better than be standing out in the sunshine with a blue sky, having a smoke with you right now.
Yeah. The
I've
wood
had
sky is
one.
pretty- it's a little nippy.
I don't think I've had one full cigarette in 6
It's
months.
not that cold.
That's
only
good.
21 degrees.
That's good. You're
Yeah.
doing better than I am. I can tell you that much. I had
Well,
quit and then I started
You
again.
know what happened? It was habit. It was all day. Sometimes now I go upstairs during the day while I'm working to get another cup of coffee. And I'm like, oh, it's so gorgeous outside. I really want to go outside. And I thought, well, what's the draw? I can't smoke. So,
But we remember sitting out on the front porch of the Otasaga, and it was so
Yes.
friggin' cold. But we're like,
Yes,
no, we're
20
gonna
below
have these
zero.
puppies, and we're gonna tell these jokes, and we're gonna have a good time, even if it's cold.
do you remember we're standing there and there was an icicle from
Yeah.
the corner of the roof that had to be 18 feet up, the corner of the roof hanging over the veranda, and this huge, like a stalactite
Mm-hmm.
coming down, and it was all ice all the way to the ground. And
Yeah.
we're like,
What?
boy, you don't want that thing to fall on you. But we're standing out there with the wind chill. It was 20 below zero, and Jason and I are out smoking. With somebody else came with us too, and the smokers are out. You know, we're
It
smoking
was,
away, and we're like, you know, God damn it, we're gonna have a smoke whether it's 20 or 50 below. So
Well, and Chip Coffee was out there with us. He
Chip
told
Coffee
the
was, that's
penguin
right.
joke. He told the penguin joke.
That's right, the penguin joke. That's where I got that from.
Right.
It was from Chip Coffee, my Irish penguin joke, which it's coming up because St. Patty's Day is coming up.
Right, exactly.
So 7 days from now, I got to see if I can get the Sam, the leprechaun. See if I can get Sam in here. St. Patty's Day this year falls on a Sunday, so I just might be able to get him over here.
Only he
For-
comes over on Saturday and sleeps over.
Oh,
What?
Only he comes over on Saturday and sleeps over.
If only he comes over on Saturday and sleeps over, says his little sister. So, yeah, she likes Sam here.
Hang on, I got to back out for a second. Got a phone call.
Okay, you got it. So, folks, let's look at what are a couple of the other things
Hey,
that.
hang on.
I'm getting feedback. now.
Mr. JP,
Yeah. Hold on. a sec.
JP, we still hear you.
Mr. JP, are you there?
We hear you. There we go. He's muted now. All right. Let's see. So more of the 5 keys. We didn't want his private conversation coming across the wire here. Let's see. What did Biden say? What else did he say about the border during his speech? He sought to shift the blame,
Scooch over.
and after embracing restrictive immigration policies, including some he campaigned against in 2020 in a failed bipartisan Senate deal, Biden tried to portray Republicans as responsible for ongoing problems.
What happened to your head?
What happened to my head?
Yeah.
My hair went away.
No.
That's what happened.
Scott.
Oh, I nailed it. I nailed my head. That's like a week ago. Mom had pulled that basketball hoop out of its. Rainey pulled the basketball hoop. It sits on our curb, so the kids can play in the street. We have a quiet street, and the big basketball hoop. And the thing is really heavy on its base, and so I dug a hole and leveled it all out so you could just tip that thing in there, and you've got a legal height basketball hoop. And well, Rainey brought it out into the street. I don't know how she got it out of that hole. Rainey's strong. That's what it is. And so then she asked me if I'd put it back one late at night. oh, would you put that thing back in the hole because it's now sitting out off the curb and I don't want a car to run into it in the dark because there's nothing on it fluorescent or reflective. It's black. Okay, so I go out there and I tip it back and the wheels are on the front of the base. So you pull that big pole down in order to roll it. And it's heavy. You got to work your way up the pole. And as I got up toward the top, the basket part, and it's got those little clips that clip the actual net hang on, caught me on the head, cracked me on the head pretty good. So that's what she's talking about. Anyway, moving on. We can fight about fixing the border or we can fix it, said Biden. Well, the thing is, his deal doesn't fix it. It just makes it just as worse in a different way. And one misstep was that they say is that Biden infuriated some Democrats in an ad-libbed moment by using language that they find degrading. And he called the alleged killer. Don't play that down here, please. You'll have to take that in the other room because the sound picks up. He called the alleged killer. It's not an alleged killer. That's just legalese. The killer of Laken Riley, a Georgia nursing student, an illegal. Oh, and he had to apologize. We already talked about that. Hey, Kenny. Kenny Lefebvre is here. Good to see you. Lefebvre, as I like to call him, for Brent Favre here in Wisconsin, the former Green Bay Packers quarterback. Kenny Lefebvre is here. Good to see you, Kenny. And so they're saying that was one misstep. Now, I got this thing, you know me and how I feel about being offended and talking about being offended and all that crap. Oh, JP is back. The whole thing about being offended.
Back for now.
You can't call Laken Riley's killer an illegal. Well, what was he? He was an illegal. He was an illegal immigrant to this country. And the left says, you should have called him undocumented. So Biden did have to actually make a statement, a televised statement in an interview about and apologizing for calling the murderer of Laken Riley an illegal instead of undocumented. Now,
Oops.
Did he apologize for mispronouncing her name? No. But he apologizes for using illegal. Why? Because it's a political word. It's a political football. It doesn't matter. And you know what? If you are offended, that we don't need to do anything because somebody might be offended by that. If you're offended, my big response to that is, so what? It all depends on how thick your skin is. I'm offended. My philosophy that you all know is I am only offended by something if I appropriate what was said as a personal offense. I have to appropriate that. If you call me, you fat bozo, yeah, so sticks and stones may break my bones. The things we learned in kindergarten, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Nobody can be a kindergartner anymore. We're not as simple as a kindergartner. I get it. There are some things you have to be careful on. But like talking about, and we brought this up already, talking about the N-word. In adult conversation, you can't just say nigger. You have to say the N-word in talking about it, not using it or appropriating it or using it as a derogatory. You can't say, well, Mark Twain used the word nigger in his book. Because that was the common language of the day. But he wasn't calling anybody that name. He was saying his characters were calling people that name. And he probably would have been amongst the first to say, I don't use that word to represent a race or a class of people. Now, he was smart enough, but he was writing a book. It's like when you see the word fuck in a movie. Well, we blank that out when we're playing clips or something, talking about it. Why do you blank that out? Because, well, there's some people who might be offended by that word. And
I got to back out again. Somebody just swung in. So,
oh, yep.
If I'm not back on, I'll catch you guys later. It's good seeing
See you
everybody.
later,
Good
brother.
seeing you, Scotty.
Good
All
talk
right,
to you,
later.
just in case we don't see you again.
Later,
All
guys.
right. See you. So there's all of that stuff, and I freely use that word in talking intellectually, in intellectual dialogue about the word, not because I'm invoking it. But you say the N word. Well, he used the N word. We all know what you're talking about anyway. But if you say the word, oh, the vocal use of the vowel and the double g sound, well, that's offensive. But saying the N word, in both cases, if you're talking about it in intellectual discourse or discussing the topic, you can say the actual word or you can say the N word. We both know neither are invoking it, but there you go. Because we just gotta be careful about people's feelings. Well, your feelings are hurt because somebody's talking about the use and proper use of it or improper use of it. Come on. There's a handful of people that are like that, and it's not the general public. Just because you're offended, says Steph, doesn't mean you're right. That's right. And you know what? The Constitution never guaranteed that you wouldn't be offended by someone else's free speech. But it also did not guarantee that there would not be public reaction to your use of whatever your free speech is. So you're careful what to say for fear that you're not going to get a bad reaction be tried in a court of public opinion. So you have to be right. You have to be careful how you talk and what words you use. Going back a little bit, congratulations. Says Cordy, I'm really having a hard time stopping smoking cigarettes. I'm down to 10 a day if not stressed. Yeah, Cordy, I did that for a couple of years. I would say on this show, hey, I only smoked 4 cigarettes today. And because I'd go out and I'd smoke a half, and then I'd put it out and I'd pick up that half a couple hours later and finish it. And I thought, well, I'm only smoking 4 a day because I go out 8 times during the day in a 24-hour period and have a smoke. So I go, you smoke 8 times? Well, yeah. Every couple of hours if you step outside for 10 minutes. Anyway, that I found because it was still always there. If I wanted to smoke a pack, I could smoke the whole pack. And the only way I stopped smoking was, like I say, when I got taken to jail for that non-offense, which has been dismissed now. I was in jail for 24 hours, and I came home. I had contracted something in jail, and I came home when my throat hurt, and I thought, I'm not gonna smoke. It hurts my throat today. And I went for 2 weeks. I got something from being in jail, and once I was out of that, maybe 3 weeks, I finally felt like, oh, I can finally go have a cigarette. And I went and lit one up, and it just didn't taste good. I'm like, is this what I enjoyed this taste 3 weeks ago, but now I don't. And then I got into a point where I said, I've gone for 3 weeks without smoking. Let's see if I can carry that on, because everybody's always on me about quitting smoking. My older daughters, especially. And I'm like, well, I only have 2 a day. Well, Dad, just 1 can kill you. And yeah, I should sue them. I wish I could, but I can't prove anything, Steph. I'd had to have had medical. I didn't go to a doctor. It was a cold. It's the chest cold, which I get a lot of these days, which I think is that due to, it's not due to my smoking. It's due to having had pneumonia a few times. I got a spot on my lung that they say is due to pneumonia. Little benign, 5 millimeters, they said, minuscule. And they found that when they were doing heart work on me. They did some scan for my heart, and they saw that little nodule. My doc said they looked at it and they said, well, check it out in a year. That's the kind that we see that usually doesn't mean anything. It means you had pneumonia. You got scarring type of thing. So I get this stuff all the time. But that's what precipitated. And now, we had a little bonfire we did a couple of weeks ago here out in the burner out front, and I lit up a cigarette. So I thought, what a perfect setting to have a smoke, and it just didn't taste good. I smoked it about a third of the way down, and I went, "Bah, I'm forcing myself to smoke this because I just wanted to smoke it." So I just threw it in the fire, and I was done. And so my smoking days are over. I enjoyed it while they were here. I smoked for about 20 years when I think about it. I didn't start smoking until I was 40. I never picked up a cigarette until I was 40 years old. I was going through my divorce from my older kid's mom, and we'd been married for 12 years at that point. And let's see, yeah, 89 to it was 1989 we were married, and we were finally divorced in 2001. So yeah, 12, 13 years, 12 years. And my kids were little, and I'd go out to the Irish pub on Tuesdays. And this was back in, you're talking 2001. You could still smoke in a bar. 2000. And you could still smoke in the bars. And everybody was smoking at the Irish pub and drinking. And somebody was smoking clove cigarettes. And I said, let me try one of those. They smell good. And I'd have one cigarette, maybe two, once a week, Tuesdays at the Irish pub. I bought a pack, and I had a pack that lasted me. A pack would last me 2-3 months. So for the first 2 or 3 months, I had a pack of cigarettes. So I'd smoke those cloves, 1 or 2 of them, and then I started picking it up. And just grew. At one point, I was up to 2 packs a day, not of cloves. I went to. I used to buy the cloves, the fatties. You had the black clove cigarettes, the jarums, but then I went to the fatties, we called them. They were the big, thick, white ones, the clove cigarettes, and we liked those. It was like smoking 2 at once. Then I went to Camels in the mid 2000s, 2006 ish, somewhere in there, 4 or 5 years later. And I started smoking Camels. Camel Lights, they used to call them. Then they'd take the word light off of it legally. So I started smoking Camels, and I smoked Camels all the way up until 6 months ago. So at varying degrees of numbers of cigarettes per day. But I was going to say, when JP first came on, would have liked nothing better than to be standing out in the sun, blue sky, having a cigarette. I don't have cravings in the sense of, oh my God, what am I going to do? I got to have that cigarette. I don't have that kind of craving. I sometimes have that, God, I'd love to have a smoke right now. That'd be nice. I just don't do it. So, boom, 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 boom. Unoffendable says, I knew you could do it. Why, thank you, my dear. Yeah, it was, it's just, I just got out of the habit of smoking. And then I didn't like the taste so much. But every now and then, I'll watch an old episode of Mad Men. And if you don't know that show, it's been off the air for 7, 8 years now, 6 or 7 years. Anyway, it was about advertising agency people in the 1960s, early 1960s. And they followed it up into the early 70s, I think, with the character Don Draper. So that's and they smoked, and one of their big clients in the ad agency in the early 60s was Lucky Strike in that show. And so they had the Lucky Strike cigarettes, and everybody was smoking up a storm in every episode. As a matter of fact, one of the logos of the show, the identifiers in the show opener, was a silhouette of sitting on a sofa, a guy like this, Don Draper, and he's got a cigarette in his fingers. So, black silhouette of him sitting there. So, Cordia says, I roll my cigarettes at home. And I used to too. I had a thing. Rainey actually got her. You're going to keep smoking this much? She says, just save a ton of money and roll your own. And she'd buy me a bag of tobacco and all the empty shells and the little crank thing. I had a crank one. I didn't have the automatic one. I made it work. And I had a little box. It sits over there. There's a decorative box, you know, and then I'd open up and I'd have it stacked full of cigarettes. But I couldn't smoke in the house. But I did all that when I had the deck off of my studio into the back of forest. So made it easy. So, got me an electric roller. Works great. And says Morgan Snow. Let's see. Are you reminiscing or fantasizing about smoking? I'm just reminiscing. Crank style, says Cordia. I'm just reminiscing. I don't fantasize so much about it. If I see a show where everybody's smoking or watching a movie and they're smoking, I'm like, oh, I'd love to be sitting there having a cigarette with them. Makes me want to go out and have a smoke. So that's reminiscing. I no longer fantasize about smoking. I don't think I ever did. I always said I was a more practical, pragmatic type of guy when it came to smoking. I said, I'm not addicted to smoking. I'm not addicted to cigarettes. I'm addicted to smoking them. Now, maybe that's semantics for some people, but it was the idea of smoking. I enjoyed smoking. If I was writing, working on a book, I'd take my laptop out in the garage and I'd open up the big garage and I'd smoke out there in the garage. That way I could work and I could smoke. Yeah, exactly, Annette. I get the urge in some social situations. I do too. Like if I'm out having some pints, some Guinness with some friends, you know what? I like to go out and have a smoke. I went and met one of my old doctors the other day. Last week, we went out and had a few pints at the local pub. And it would have been so much better with a cigarette. And it was nice enough to go outside and have one. And it was interesting. On my way back to the car, there was a woman sitting across the street outside a different bar on a bench, and she was having a cigarette. And I walked by and I stopped. I said, do you have one of those to spare? Could I bum a cigarette? I said, I'll even buy a cigarette from you. I said, I'm just in the mood. And she goes, no. She said, sadly, I quit and I don't have any, and I had to bum this from somebody inside. And I said, I'm in the same boat. I said, I quit. I said, well, thanks. And I said, good luck with quitting. I said, and she said, yeah, cheers. So, smoking is my break and quiet time. Miss Cordia, I said the same thing. Smoking was my break. It's my quiet time. I can get out and I can have my smoke. The problem I had was that it's bad for me. And I got heart disease already. And you don't know how my docs were. Now, it's funny. The last time I was in, I was getting all these tests done. Well, I had already stopped smoking by that point. That was, 3 months ago? So it was halfway through the 6 months period here. But I had some docs that didn't say anything about my smoking, and others, the nurses would chide the hell out of me. And I'd tell the doc, he says, well, do you smoke? And I say, well, I said, anywhere from 1 to 4 cigarettes a day. I said, I'll smoke. I said, but I'm quitting. I said, I've got it down to 1 to 4. I used to smoke a pack and a half a day. And you say, okay. And he just write it down. He didn't say anything. The nurses would come in and they would chide me over and over and over and over again. I said, look, I didn't have my heart attack because I smoke. It's a different problem with my heart. Well, you don't want to exacerbate it by smoking. Okay, I get that. I understand that. So, not smoking in the house or the car, or when my kids come and visit, they don't smoke. Yeah, my daughters, they would come and sometimes I would even light up in front of them. I'd be outside and I go, I gotta have a smoke. We were sitting outside. And so I enjoy the act of smoking. It's like I enjoy having a pint of Guinness. Are either of them in excess good for us? No. Smoking is probably worse for you than having a pint of Guinness. I'd like to know if there's is having one cigarette versus having one pint of Guinness, which is worse for you? Should you do neither? I think beer is a good thing. God made beer for us all to be happy. So there you go. I like going out right now. Just talking about it makes me. I'd like to go out and have a smoke, but I won't. I've just stopped doing it. It's not my instant response anymore. So anyway, enough on that. So, oh, look at my globe, by the way. I picked that baby up on the online. It's sideways because the bracket's broken off of it. And so it's just sitting in there so it won't fall out. I got to reattach the bracket. They said when I bought it for $20 on Facebook Marketplace. And I saw that and I said, oh, I got to have that. And so I just saw it. I'm looking at the monitor and I turned the chair enough where I got the globe back there now. So that's pretty neat. And I got this for $20 too. Look at that. That is nice. It's got the nice claw feet on it. You can't see the whole thing. Let's see. So I got that chair for $20. It's pretty nice. Nice desk chair. I won't replace the gaming chair I'm using right now. But somebody was selling that for $20. It had some nice detailing on the arm, which actually drew me to it in the photos. So I got that too. Sometimes that marketplace is a neat thing over on Facebook. So let's fix that. Boom. All right. So am I running out of material for today? No, I got a ton of material left. But let's see, where did we have this camera? The whole, see, I don't even have to turn the camera. The camera's built in. You got to shift the whole screen. So there you go. So, yeah, what next? Which we were talking about, we can go through these and just to have them in your head. What they're saying were the 5 takeaways to Biden's State of the Union. Immigration. Then his third takeaway was a call for voters to back abortion rights. Now, what do you think about that? Whether you agree with abortion or not, is that something that should be legislated? Biden cast himself as a protector of American health care and drew cheers from fellow Democrats when he took aim at Trump's comments on abortion rights. So somehow now abortion rights have become synonymous with health care. Is abortion health care? That is that's like saying, is Botox health care? Now, I know there's going to be a whole lot of other issues with abortion than there is with vanity facelifting, but there are things that are called elective surgeries. Is abortion? Sometimes it's necessary to save the life of the mother. I would, in a heartbeat, support abortion in cases of saving the mom's life. In cases of my minor daughter being raped. God forbid. Yeah, just saying that is just so out of what you normally want to think. Would I promote abortion if my daughter had volitional sex with somebody underaged? Would I promote abortion? That one I'd have to wait to see till I'm in it. I would like to say no, that I believe in the sanctity of life. That's a life. But do I believe in the sanctity of the unborn life more than I believe in the rest of the life of my child? I don't know. That's one of those squishy grounds to walk on. And some will say, well, it's black and white. You either support the sanctity of life or you don't. And some would say, well, you have to consider your kid. What kind of life they're going to have if at 16 they have a baby. So there's that gray area for me. I am not one that pushes abortion rights. I believe abortion should be left legal and safe. You don't mess with that. Don't get the government and legislation involved in that. But the only way I would see that is if you had a Supreme Court ruling that came down and said that an unborn child is constitutionally protected since it's connected to the mother who's a citizen. So Morgan Snow says that is state business. Let's see. Randall Flagg, what do you got here? It's words of a song. Trying to see if I can remember it. I'd smoked my mind the night before with cigarettes and the songs I'd been picking, but I lit my first and watched a small kid playing with a can that he was kicking. There you go. I don't know what song that is. Probably a band I don't listen to that much, I have to say. Probably. You guys are all into stuff I was never into. I was always into softer, gentler music or cultural music. I like now in my adult years, always into Celtic music. For the last 35 to 40 years, Celtic music for me. Before that, when I was in ministry, it was contemporary Christian music, not gospel music. I didn't like gospel. I liked contemporary Christian. And before that, when I was in high school, John Denver. I learned to play guitar listening to John Denver songs. So I loved John Denver when I was a kid. Yeah, if you use abortion as birth control, that's wrong. I believe in that. I believe that statement, and I agree with you. Yeah, there you go. Coming down, Chris Christopherson, Johnny Cash covered it too. Cool. I've probably heard it without ever memorizing those words. So there's that. Let's get back to this. Call for voters to back abortion rights. Those bragging about overturning Roe v. Wade, says Biden, have no clue about the power of women in America. No, wait. What does the power of women in America have to do with overturning Roe v. Wade? And you know what? The power of women in America, that's a political statement. He's appealing to the power of women, not appealing to whether or not abortion is good or bad, or whether Roe v. Wade was good or bad law. So, but they found out when reproductive freedom was on the ballot and won in 22 and 23, and they will find out again in 24. So abortion is a ballot issue now. When the big misnomer, and if he was being honest, President Biden, he would state that we want abortion rights, and the Supreme Court didn't take away anybody's right to an abortion. That never happened. That is fiction and folly. What the Supreme Court said was that abortion is not under the purview of the federal government. It is a state's issue. Put it back to the states. Why is the left pushing for abortion to be a federal issue? Because they want the federal government to rule on it. It's not the place of the federal government to rule on your reproductive rights. That is covered by the state. So I'm the same way with healthcare. I got no problem with there being universal healthcare if the federal government is not promoting it, making it a product of the federal government. Federal government doesn't belong there. That is a state's issue. So, same thing. And that's all the SCOTUS did last summer. Or was it 2 summers ago? It'll be 2 summers ago. They ruled that the United States federal government does not have the jurisdiction over abortion to say it's right or wrong or to legislate it. The Supreme Court said that is a state's issue, and we're remanding that back to the states. Do what your state says is okay. That's what the federal government is here to do. Protect your right to do what your state says, your independent state says is right or wrong. Yeah, There's a lot of people, says Randall Flagg, they travel out of state for cancer or heart stuff. Yeah. Well, that's big, Randall Flagg. That's not like every day. Oh, I got pregnant because I was fucking around without protection. And I think most states, there's a few states that have legislated that abortion, even in cases of rape, is illegal. I disagree with that. I think that's extreme. You don't have to be extremist. You be common sense. We all found out common sense doesn't mean common sense anymore because it's not common. But you just have to use your brains about it, especially when doing rulings like that. Rulings like that are made from one extremist point of view. And I think that that's wrong. He wanted to draw, Biden did, a clear contrast with the Republicans on an issue that Democrats see as a potent vote getter, which was abortion. But he didn't utter the word abortion, which said he's not, which he said he's not big on abortion, personally, 20 years ago. Very famous interview he was having where he talked about it. It should be rare and it should be safe. And that's what he said about it. He was against abortion. This is where I said 20 years ago, I found Joe Biden to be pretty acceptable for not agreeing with him on a lot because he was a Democrat. I liked him personally. Then, of course, the more crap you find out about anybody who runs for office, you start to dislike them. And I don't like the fact that he has been, I still stand up for Biden in this sense. I don't think a lot of this is him. I think a lot of this is what his party is pulling the strings and having him do. Annette says, Hunt Keenan says here, if you are male and have no uterus, you have no say in what I can do or can't do with my body, period. Rather than regulating abortion, think about regulating vasectomies for men. No semen, no babies. You know, I don't totally disagree with you, but I believe we make a lot of laws that are based on, doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. The law applies to you. My only take on that, Annette, would be that if you're male and have no uterus, you have no say. If I'm male and I help make a baby with a woman that was willing to have sex with me and that baby is there, why don't I have any say over it? Because she's carrying it? That means that we've rendered that baby a non-entity. It's a non-thing because it's part of the woman's body. Now, where my kids might be, I can only come up with lame examples. Men don't gestate babies. Sorry, LGBTQ trans people, men cannot have babies. Only a woman can have a baby. So you can do all kinds of manipulations and scientific experiments and try to make a man carry a baby, but you can't make him originate a baby with his own eggs and his own uterus. Doesn't happen. So, but that's a different issue. If you're male and don't have a uterus, you have no say. I think, though, that fathers should have some say over a child they helped create. If they're responsible for that child, if the woman decides to have the baby, the guy's responsible the rest of his life financially, even if she doesn't want him in the life of her child emotionally. But isn't that his child too? Shouldn't he have a right to be in that child's life? Once the child is birthed, why doesn't he have any say in whether or not his child is aborted? That's where I draw. Now, that's a subjective argument that I throw out there. And they're both subjective arguments. I get you, Annette. And I'm not taking you to task or anything like that. I'm all right with your point of view. I have a slightly different point of view. That's all. And rather than regulating abortion, you said think about regulating vasectomies for men. No semen, no babies. There's that. So, is that a right over a man's body? Sure. Is there a right over a woman's body? Sure. But which one of those involves the life of a different being? Even though it's part of the woman's body, it's somebody different. There's the slippery slope argument in that. How far do we take that in that? It's worth discussing, and it's worth thinking about. I have never subscribed to the argument, and I'm pretty liberal thinking when it comes to women's rights, but I've never subscribed to the argument that says a human life, just because it's being gestated by the mom, makes it the property of the mom, and therefore the mom can decide whether to still the life or to keep it. So that's the only place I disagree with you on that. And I'm not disagreeing so much with you personally as I am disagreeing with the philosophy behind that. Yeah, exactly, Randall Flagg. Yeah, Randall had said many people travel out of state for cancer and heart stuff. Why not abortion? There it is. Grumpy Stack is here. Sorry, I've been absent. You have. I was thinking that this morning when I tagged you in the post, or last night. I thought, I never see Grumpy anymore. I wondered what you had going on in life. How's business? How's things? If you notice in my little scroll bar down below, what have I got? Wait for it. On my side, it's saying The Sword in the Clay, fairylegs.com, patriotpropaganda.com. Then I've got John Adams' quote, facts are stubborn things, and whatever may be our wishes, our inclinations, or the dictates of our passion, they cannot alter the state of facts and evidence. John Adams said that. But then I've also got, there it is, buy Grumpy Stack tires. There you go. There was a murder in front of my shop on Thursday. Oh, I might just close the business. Really, because of that? Is it because of the murder? Or business just time to move on from it? Let us know what's going on there, Grumpy. So we got about 6 minutes left in this show, folks. Not that we have to be on a rigid time schedule, but about 6 minutes. I'm going to let you go for the day. And I'll get on with mine. I heard my lovely wife, Rainey, who never comes into this show anymore. She was upstairs. I heard her dremeling, working on Scout Derby cars, the little Derby cars, the Derby coming on. And so she's up there making cars. Oh, and moving on from the area, Grumpy says. It's dangerous. That's too bad. It's too bad that there's dangerous areas. I'm sorry to hear that, brother. So you're gonna keep the business and just move it to a different location? I get that. You should call in, Grumpy, so we can see your face. Do I still have yeah, there it is. Anybody wants to call in? We got about 4.5 minutes left of this program. And if you want to call in and make a statement like JP did for a good chunk of the show, you're welcome to do that. If not, that's okay too. I understand. So, just seeing, I'm getting messages and I'm wondering if anything has to do with anything with the show. Nope, not really. Not really. So, move back over here to this. Oh, there's Jason. Jason said he might be back, and he's back.
I'm back. And then you were just sitting there being like, "Hey, if anybody wants to call."
I didn't see you down there. I have to look.
I'll just call.
Yeah, folks. My screen, as you've all seen this before, my entire screen. Boom. I'll share this. I try to get that tunneling effect out of your mind. Whatever's on that screen right there. If I go to, I can't even mimic it here because I've got that screen up. But this is how I see my screen on my end. I will see, Jason and I have moved to the side over here, and here's the main window, which is now showing you my screen. But down here below is how I see you guys coming into the show. And there are times where my window is closed down a little bit, or I don't see them. And you see the chat room is over here. So sometimes my mic sits right here, and it's right in my line of vision, and I don't see somebody sitting here in the wings. So I just thought I'd share that with you, because I can.
Did I miss anything fun?
No. Well, it's all fun. You missed some of it, but
Okay, anything extraordinarily interesting? How about that?
we talked about abortion rights a little bit
Mm,
because we were talking about what Biden was talking about. Biden equated in the State of the Union healthcare with abortion rights. They're equal. If you deny abortion rights, it's hey, Steve Coburn is here. I haven't seen you in a long time, brother. Good morning. Good to see you. We're just wrapping. We've got about not wrapping as in talking. We're wrapping up because we end at 11. But it's good to see you in here, brother.
yeah, we'll
So
leave the
we
wrapping to
talked
Ben
about
Shapiro.
what's that?
We'll leave the wrapping to Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, there it is. I like Ben Shapiro.
Did you see his
And
rap that he did with Tom McDonald?
I heard about that and I did not see it.
It was a number one for like a hot minute, and then there was
Oh, really?
now it's dropped down the charts a little bit, but it's like that's funny. And I've watched some react
I
videos,
did not see that.
and people were like, "What?" Because he speaks so
Yeah.
fast. So in a way, he kind of has a natural ability that could be applied to that genre.
Well, because of the way he talks like this, he talks like a mile a minute, and everything he says comes out this way. And he talks about he'll fit 352 facts into a 2-minute segment. He'll just talk, blah 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 blah, and this and that.
Right.
Well, did you take into consideration the constitutional ramifications of this sort of legislation?
He's a living embodiment. He's a living embodiment of the fine print in all of the medical ads.
Yes.
Like
yes. Do not take this pharmaceutical. If you have ever had a broken limb, do not take this. Whatever.
He's spouts it all off. It's like, oh my god, how does he do that? Let me slow that down a bit. Let me rewind. What did he say?
Let me rewind that to catch the legalese.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Basically, a lot of those say, do not take this drug if you breathe air to live, but take it at your own risk. So.
Yep. Yeah. Oh well, fun stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Look at this. Biggest takeaway though should just be, hey, vote early, vote often, and
that's right.
Research.
If you've got a primary coming up, folks, vote what you believe. Vote your conscience. Well, it helps, believe it or not.
And that's one of those things too, right? Like if you talk in strategy, if you're trying to look purely on strategy, I understand not voting for a third party. But then at the same time, we should probably vote more with our conscience.
And I wish we would. We would have more third parties in. But the problem is the way our system is set up, not enough people do that for it to matter for anything other than a spoiler for an election. It's like I say, if you don't want Joe Biden in office, you better vote for Trump.
Yeah.
That's your only alternative. Because not enough people are going to be able to vote for anybody else. Well, I voted my conscience. My country's going into a shithole, and I helped get it there, but I voted my conscience.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't do that. You got to vote. Sometimes you have to vote for the person that is closest to your political ideology, whether you like them or not, whatever your case may be. Same way the other way around. You don't like Trump, you better vote for Biden. Because nobody else is running against Biden.
Yeah. I mean, the third party alternative is RFK Jr.
Yes, I would vote for RFK Jr. in a heartbeat. The problem I have with RFK is that Trump is running. Trump is you can't vote for either Trump or RFK and hope that one of them is going to win. If you vote for one and not the other, you're going to have Biden again.
Yeah.
Just the way it is.
Yeah. It's interesting to say the least.
And a third party would never have sway in Congress, says Randall Flagg. You're right. There would have to be enough people. Now, Reagan ran as an independent, but he was a Republican. He got the Republican nod. He ran as an independent before that,
Right.
and then he got the Republican nod.
Right.
So that's it.
But
Third
look
parties
how
are
long
great
he-
for your conscience. Vote your conscience, but you know what? Vote your critical thinking. Vote your intelligence, please.
Yeah.
Not just your conscience. Conscience can lack intelligence sometimes. That's like Mike Rowe said it best when he's talking about all these people that say work, follow your passion, and that's what you do for work, whether it works or not. And he says, well, what if your passions suck when it comes to making a living?
Yeah.
He says, then you better find something else to do. That's the same thing. Your conscience might tell you this is the best way to vote, but what if that best way to vote sucks for the country in the long run because you don't replace the bad element?
Yeah.
For the country. That's the way I see it. Sometimes, are we roped into and forced into voting two-party? Yeah. But if you want your third-party guy to win, go out and campaign the hell out of him.
Yeah.
Get the word out. Get it out there. Why? You want more people to vote. You get people, and then you got to look at who's my third-party conscience vote going to take a vote away from? Will it take it away from the guy currently in office or the person that's running for office?
Well, and
I
gotta say, I really hope with all of this going on that more people do vote. And we could talk about the whole rigged stuff in a whole different show altogether, but the biggest thing at the end of the day truly is that people actually get out and vote. I mean, the voter apathy is horrendous. We got
it's
how many
because of
hundred
the
million
social media state of life that we live in. People will vote, if I can do it from home or mail it in. That's
I just look at the stuff around here at the local level, and it's like, all right, we've got 60,000 people that live in the city, and up to 100,000 if you include the greater metro area of the county, right? And we had some stuff that was it was a vote for continuing a tax that was a sales tax that was set to sunset in a couple of years, right? Whether we were going to continue that indefinitely so we could fund some other projects, or if we were going to cancel it. And within that 60 to 100,000 people, if you include the county, right, they can't vote in city stuff, obviously, if they're out in the county. But it turns out to about 45,000 eligible voters, right?
Right.
And we had a grand total of something. I can't remember if it was that particular issue or if it was another one, but it was abysmal. It was something like 5,000 people total came out to vote, and it's like, you're trying to tell me, and then the way the mayor and the city council and all that stuff try to spin stuff, because there's always the spin game. It was, well, hey, we had a, basically when you look at the number of people that voted, we had a 2-to-1 for keeping this.
Right.
And I'd say that's a pretty good representation of what the community feels. And it's like, how do you effectively make that comment off of what works out to be basically a statistical rounding error?
Right.
In terms of the number of voters, that's awful. Like if I had been mayor, I would have been like, I'm really disappointed in the community. Only 5,000 people came out to vote. This doesn't give us an actual accurate, sight picture of what's going on. This is horrible. And if I could put it back up to a vote again and do more to get people to just simply go out and vote, because then they get in, well, the city can't campaign for a specific thing. They can't campaign for a specific thing, but you know what? They can get the word out. They can put out flyers. They can put up billboards. They can, they talked on the one talk radio station here in the area, which it's not like the entire city listens to that station.
Right.
And, it's like, come on, what are you guys doing? I haven't seen one thing on like the 5 LED billboards that we have that swap stuff out where anybody said, we've got to vote. coming up on this day, get out and vote. I didn't see anybody, going to places of business and going to, the college and going to schools where you do have people that are, of voting age. There are some students who are, like,
Well,
and
once
saying
you're in
things
college,
like-
most of them are at voting age. Yeah.
Well, right. At college for sure. Like you get into the high schools, obviously it's going to be in the seniors, and it's going to be, whoever's already 18 at the time the vote comes. But like, at least put out why it's important that you get out and vote, and try to work with the local businesses and say, hey, it's important that these people get out and vote. What can we do to help you guys facilitate them going to do this? Because they're always going to be like, well, I have work. I can't just go take off and, and go vote and come back. And, you can if your lunch hour lines up, or if you wanted to take, leave or PTO or something like that. But
Yes.
it's like there are ways to work with these things to get it out, and you don't see the people doing it. They just spew out the rhetoric.
Yeah.
And it goes to a limited office or a limited audience. So just get out there and vote. Whatever side you lean on, at least exercise that right. I've seen
Yes.
I've been in the third world countries where we've had to provide armed security for voting stations so that people didn't get harassed or blown up or shot,
Right.
to vote. And
We don't have to do that here. Yeah.
They sit there and they got that purple stained thumb, at work, and that guy or gal went out to vote, and they held their thumb up, proudly. It's like, it's too important to not, no matter what your political leaning is, that do something.
Yes.
And that's my soapbox for the day.
And I appreciate your soapbox, and I agree with a hell of a lot of what you say. You and I think an awful lot alike, and I like the fact that you don't believe and spout out of categories. You believe in spout because you think about things and you want to give consideration to the other side. Now, by the way, this is not to blow sunshine up your kilt. This is the definition of what I see as being awake.
Right.
Not woke, but awake is that you're able to separate yourself, extricate yourself from the world around you and see things from a different point of view. And say, just because there's not a strictly always black and white, right and wrong, especially when it comes to politics or other issues.
There's a lot of gray where you can meet in the middle.
A lot of gray area.
And that's the thing is like, there's a lot of stuff on both sides of the fence where I think people can actually come to an agreement on things. And it doesn't have to be a knockdown, drag out fight. And there's always a little give and take is what should happen. The best, the best situation in compromise is where both parties leave not happy, right?
Yeah.
Or not 100% happy. We made some concessions on this stuff, but you know what? It's in the right direction, and I can live with that, and we can live with that because we accomplished something, and so hopefully something positive. You'll see the fruits bear later on after the decision, but we need to do more of that, and we need to stop listening to the political pundits and things like that, because if you listen to the news, it sounds like everybody on either side of the fence is sitting in the chambers at Congress are having a heated firefight across the aisle, and the thing is there is some of that, but there's a lot of people who actually are trying to work together and trying to do things, but none of that gets private. So all it looks like is we've erupted into, a right versus left pure type, fight. And it's like, no, there's plenty of people. And like, I've talked with congressmen, like face to face in conversation, and they're like, behind the scenes, you guys don't see it, but there's a lot of work that's going on together. And a lot of us we get on great and we're good friends. We just have different political, leanings, and we try to do stuff, but none of that ever gets highlighted, or it's all framed within a certain context that completely ignores all the other stuff. So we have to be very, very cognizant about what we're listening to, getting our information. And, as much as I'm a supporter of the First Amendment and a staunch one at that, there are sometimes I look at it and then it's like, sometimes I can kind of understand the dictators. when
Yeah,
when you
and
see
sometimes
the things that
I
are
would
put
agree with you. Sometimes I would too.
it's like, and you kind of hate saying that, because
I know.
it's a gross overgeneralization, and obviously it sounds horrible, but you're like, man, if these people would just shut up for 5 minutes, like if we
Shut
could,
up. Yep.
like, I would never really love to see a state-controlled media, right? But like,
Me
there's
either.
sometimes where it's like, if you had very, very scrupulous people who ran it
Mhm.
and you could maintain that, I could see some benefit to it. But you have to rely on the people running it to be morally upstanding and adherent to, the Constitution. And let's get away
Yeah.
from the pundits and just give out here's the information. Sergeant Joe Friday, that crap. Just the facts,
Yeah.
man. It's like, come on. But
Yeah.
yeah. Oh well.
Oh well, and there it is. And you know what? As long as we could talk about this, we got to end it now because we're
Yep.
already in overtime by 13 minutes. We're almost
Yep.
a full quarter by the clock in overtime. So, Jason, but thank you for your input. It's always, we don't have Professor Bauer here lately to take us into 20 minutes of overtime, but
I know.
you're filling in the gap.
I'm having to pick up the slack. Come on,
That's
man.
right. That's
Where you
right.
at, Professor?
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate everything you have to say. We'll talk more about this, I'm sure, in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
Maybe starting even tomorrow night. We'll see what goes on tomorrow night after tomorrow
There
night's
you
show.
go.
I don't
Always
know if I'm
pleasure.
talking about gin tomorrow night or if I'm going to shift gears into other topics. So we'll see. We'll find out. We'll see where my head is tomorrow morning. That's the way it usually goes.
There you go.
All right, you have a fun Sunday, brother.
All right, you too. Take her easy, man.
Hey, by the way, when is your move date? I know you're prepping for this move. When are you getting out of there?
It'll be like probably the second to last week, sometime around the second to last week of May.
Okay, so you're 6 weeks,
yeah.
7 weeks out.
I've got to try to schedule a house hunting trip so I can try to secure
2 months out, I should say.
Lodging out there. That way I can try to do as seamless of a move as possible.
Yes.
But yeah.
Well, that's good. I hope that works well for you. I hate moving.
Yeah.
Add a wife and 3 children to that and make it fun.
I wish I had minions to, pack up those boxes. Yeah.
Carry what was nice, when we moved into here, my son he's going to be 15 in a couple of months. He was 13 when we moved into this place. And he had his friends over. And I said, guys, how would you like to help Flynn's dad? Because Flynn was I'm like, how would you like to help Flynn's dad? Yes, Mr. Roberts, we would love to help. Flynn's like, and so Flynn is good to help, and he's strong. So I had these kids hauling stuff, from the downstairs in the other place.
Oh yeah.
Hey, you guys go down and go downstairs and get out that whole pile of boxes of books, please. I had like 50 boxes of books, and books are heavy, as you know.
Yes, they are.
And it's like, well, you guys are great. Now I ended up pulling downhill to the back door and back up the trailer, and they could do it that way too. But man, it's great having minions to help.
It is. Sure. And I've got a 6-yard dump that I had delivered on Friday, sitting there in front of the garage, and I'm just like, all right, we're done triaging.
Yep.
Everybody's a casualty on this one.
Well, like I say, if we will probably move at least one more time because I want to build a house. I wanted to do that before I was too old to enjoy it.
Right.
So, you see 82-year-old guys, nothing wrong with being 82, but they build a new house. It's like, well, you got about 5 years to enjoy that now. And I'm being flippant,
Yeah.
But I want to be young enough still and vivacious enough to be able to do stuff around my house, to landscape it, to enjoy my property a little bit before,
Absolutely.
Before I have to just sit on the porch because my joints won't take it anymore.
Right.
sit and have a joint rather than worry about my joints. So, all right. And on that note, Jason, we'll see you hopefully tomorrow. Have a good night.
Hopefully.
Have a good
Take care.
day. See you. All right, everybody else, we're out of here. Thanks for coming. Be sure to check out Wendy's show today, Wicked Women, at 4 p.m. If you're not doing anything, you're sitting in front of your computer or your phone, tune her in. And you can find her over at Wicked Women on, you got to look up Wendy Robertson and Wicked Women to find her, because there's another Wicked Women out there on YouTube somewhere. You'll find it by seeing her logo. Go over to her YouTube and find it. And then that's it. Kenny Ballos in the mornings, all during the week, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Central. Morning coffee with KB. And other than that, we're done here. So all of you, you have a good day, a good rest of your day. Thanks for joining me. Live long and prosper. And of course, I didn't have my button ready. How about that? I should have done that, huh? So live long and prosper.